foremost, before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachah, Kodash. Double honors go out to the apostles, elders, the great millstone who rule and teach well. Shalom, Barakiam to you brothers and sisters out there. Alright, Lord, when that this lesson is edifying to the hopeful elect. Alright, I got a song up here, by Dion. It's called Runaround Sue. And first of all, it's a great song. But second, in the point why I'm doing this lesson is because it reminds me of Israel. And what I mean by that is, and I got some scriptures pulled up, but our people throughout history, even to this very day, want to go around being a metaphorical whore and just sleep with all these different ideologies and philosophies out there. Because remember, back when I said back when it's the last book of the Bible, Revelations, but they wrote back in Revelations 14:4, right, talks about how they were virgins, right? And what that means by that is that they're not entangled in all these different false philosophies out here. And what really is a false philosophy? What is that? Well, it's everything outside of the ministry, right? Because Yahweh Shai plainly told us that you have the straight gate and the broad gate. There's no in between. So either you're following the truth or you're not, right? So any ideology out there, whether any religion, whatever that you want to subscribe to, if it's not Yahweh Shai, if it's not the ways of the Bible, then it's the broad gate. All right, and our people all throughout history have went worshiping other gods, following heathen customs, and once again to this very day. So it just reminded me of this song, Run Around Soup. It talks about how our people have committed spiritual adultery, spiritual fornication. Going to follow these different customs out here, Judah and Israel. All right, the southern and the northern kingdom. And it doesn't really matter which one did it more or less, or over here, over there. What's important to understand is all Israelites were through and worshipped idols, from the head tribe down to the bottom. Everybody. All right, and our people have been scattered. So not only have their brains become like unto the heathen, now we have plenty of our people that even look like the heathen, but their lineage, their patrilineal goes back to one of the 12 tribes. So we're in a bad situation here. We're in a bad case, but the Wadi Al-Ba Shemal Shai, we're at the end of this thing, and like it says in Baruch 4, I believe it's the 37th verse, it talks about how Israel, is being gathered from the east to the west by the word of the Holy One. So, the Lord is gathering back his people, from the four corners of the earth, which is also where they're going to be delivered from, right? Yahweh Shai told us that, Matthew 24. So let me go ahead and get a few scriptures and close up. It ain't gonna be nothing long. Let's go ahead and start with this. Sirach 17:17, it says, "For in the division of the nations of the whole earth," it's right there, the Lord's already separating people, right? And we know he chose the nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. It says, "For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people. But Israel is the Lord's portion." Okay? Israel is the Lord's portion. So, and we know the whole point of Israelites, right, is Ecclesiastes 12:13. Fear God and keep his commandments, for that's the whole duty of man. That's the whole reason why we were placed upon the earth. So, if you're walking around, ain't nothing, obviously, let's use common sense. Like the apostles say, let's use your head for something more than a hat rack. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with you having a job, having a family. Now, having a family ain't recommended, only because we know the tribulation and times that we're coming into. All right, but then you want to get you a lady, you got a job, it's a good job, you do this, that's cool. You're building your credit up, you got a little saving, whatever. If you do those things, that's cool, that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? But you need to be making sure that you are first and foremost serving Yahweh Shema Shai. That needs to be your number one priority. Alright? I don't give a fuck if you got $10,000 saved up if you're doing a video a week. Where the hell's your videos at? Fuck that goddamn money. You know? Because, I mean, what does that mean? That means you're putting your effort and time into something else. So basically, I mean, it's really kind of going into the same thing that our people have already been doing, putting other things before the Lord. You know, our people have worshipped idols and all that to fulfill the lust of their flesh. They put their desires and all that above the Lord. You know, and you know, because our people don't like discipline. Now, am I the most stoic disciplined? Hell no. I'll tell you that. Well, I did just tell you, but I'll tell you that myself. All right, but discipline is more than doing push-ups. You know, discipline is more than eating fruits and vegetables. Now, that is disciplinary things, most definitely. But the ultimate discipline is serving the Lord. You know, praying, fasting, doing the work. All right, keeping the high holy days and the laws to the best of your ability. That's the ultimate discipline. You know, keeping your mind in order. You know, because you got people out here that they go to the gym, they eat healthy, but they just constantly fulfill the lust of their flesh. You know, they're not tapping into the spirit. You know, they're just worried about carnal things. Well, we're not to be worried about carnal things. This ain't our kingdom. It makes sense for Esau to be carnal, right? Because carnal pertains to the flesh. Esau is not a spiritual man. He's a natural man. And like Scripture say, a natural man cannot receive the things of the Spirit. And that applies to more than just Edomites. That applies to our people too now. Jake is blinded and through and wants to just, I believe in God, but he's over here just, wanting to be an NBA player. And, when he's not doing that, he's on the video game all day. He never reads. He never prays. All right, like, come on, bro. We weren't put here to play basketball. We weren't put here to be engineers. We weren't put here to, damn sure not to be in the military of Rome, Now, once again, you got a job, you working towards something of a job, you trade going on, great, wonderful. That still shouldn't be your priority. Now, the military is a no-go. You better not be doing no damn military or be no damn cop. Okay? We don't have nothing against the idea of cops, right? Because the idea of cops is to make sure people are keeping the laws, right? But we know that has been demented at this point in time, all right? And this is also, once again, Esau's kingdom, so it's not even the righteous laws, all right? But anyways, moving on. Let's go to Baruch. So this is Baruch chapter 4, and I'll start at verse 1, man. Why not? All right, verse 1. Well, let me get a sip of this coffee. Oh, it's still hot. All right, so Baruch chapter 4, verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God and the law that endureth forever. So right there, we're already trying to figure out, what do you mean when you say the law is done away with? That doesn't even make sense. There's nothing wrong with the law. Why would it need to be done away with? Sacrificing is done away with because Yahweh Shai was the ultimate sacrifice. What are you going to pull from the earth that's going to be greater than the Son of God? Nothing, right? Yahweh Shai was the first spirit created. He created the elect. He created all of this. All right, he was given authority. Okay? It says, all they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. It's plain. That is plain, bro. So if you go worship idols, you follow the customs of the heathen, well, all that's eventually coming to you is death. Well, everybody dies. Well, yeah, no shit. Okay, but we're talking about, you want to go to the spirit realm, and you want the Lord to, we're all sinners. Okay, but you want the Lord to be pleased with your efforts. Now this especially applies to today, though, this life, because we're not all going to die this life, right? There's many of us that are pushing this truth, that believe on Yahweh Shema Shai, men, women, children, that are going to be beamed up and won't have to die, Now, we've died in past lives, of course, which is another reason why you shouldn't fear death. If you have to be a martyr for this thing, you very well could have been a martyr back in Rome. back in Greece, back in one of these other parts of the statue, and even if you weren't a martyr, you still died before, right? But what you don't want to do is bring shame to yourself. You want to either go up to the spirit realm. Well, remember the dead and Yahweh Shai will rise first. And you want to hear the Lord say, good job, my faithful servant. Verse 2. Turn thee, O Jacob. So, wait a minute. So, once again, there's nobody else being involved in this. Right? Time and time again, we see that this is only for the nation of Israel. Yashar Allah, which means he is a prince of the power. Which is also one of the classifications of God, technically speaking, right? Because you had the sons of God, which is the Israelites, but that was their name before. Sons of the wicked, which was before the Edomites, but that, it was them, but I'm saying that was before their name was Edomites. And you have the sons of men, the other 16 nations, the extras of the world. See? So, it makes perfect sense for Yashar Allah to be the sons of God, because Yashar Allah means he is a prince of the power. Prince is the son of the king, right? Who's ultimately the king, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, right? Anyways, it says, walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated. So, you walking in the scriptures doesn't make you weird or some Bible nerd. It doesn't make you some square. No, what does it do? It says right there, that thou mayest be illuminated. It makes you shine, metaphorically speaking. Alright? Because you're walking contrary to the ways of these wicked people and the ways of this world, bro. It's not a bad thing to follow the Bible. And people try to make it out to seem like that. No, this is the greatest thing you could be doing with your life, is following after the ways of Yahweh Shai. Alright? It says, give not thine honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee to a strange nation. Jake trying to hand out salvation like it's a pamphlet. No, salvation, we don't even deserve salvation. And you're trying to give it to a heathen nation. No, bro. Alright, it says verse 4, O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to God are made known unto us. Okay, so the ways that are pleasing unto the Lord, they're made known unto us through the scriptures, right? You got Romans 15:4. For these things were written aforetime for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Roughly paraphrased. It says, be of good cheer, my people, the memorial of Israel. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to God. So like we were talking about, worshiping idols, right? Following after the customs of the heathen. That dude just had a massive brain fart, which, I mean, I've definitely had those moments as well. Verse 8, it says, ye have forgotten the everlasting God that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. Yeah, so boom. I mean, what more can you say? That's why we're in the state that we're in, because we forsook Yahweh Shai. So obviously, like dealing with the hair, nature itself will tell you the way to reverse that, the way to get out of this place would be to serve Yahweh Shai. Duh, right? I mean, that's just common sense. The reason why we're here is because we left off our power, our God. So the way to get back in good grace, and which that doesn't mean we're going to get beamed up before Jacob's trouble. That doesn't mean that we're going to go back. No, we still got to go through hell and catch hell and all of that. But we're going to be much better off than these people. Like it says in Psalms 91, only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. Alright, and it talks about how no plagues will come nigh upon thy dwelling. So, yeah, we're going to be in the midst of this shit. But we ain't got to worry about it like these people do. Alright, I guarantee you ain't no brother or sister gonna starve to death. Guarantee that. Ain't no brother or sister gonna get some off the wall crazy death like these 2/3 will. You talking about the Lord, but you in the same FEMA camp as me. Yeah, but we're gonna see how both of our paths end. I'm gonna get my head chopped off, being bold in the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Might even break out that motherfucker with spiritual power, you know, or somehow just get teleported. You don't know what the Lord got up his sleeve, you know, in store for us. You know, and we're all gonna have an individual story to tell. You know, but you, if you don't serve the Lord, I can guarantee you that you're not getting out of here alive. And your death is probably going to be absolutely horrible. Because it's ultimately the Lord that's doing that to you. It's not, you know, you look at it carnally, it's Esau, well, it's the IDF troops, it's the, you know, well, it's the wrath of the Lord. That's really what it is. Okay, so that's basically all I got to say. And, you know, Lord willing, it was edifying to the elect. Before I close, I want to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakah Kodash. Double honors go out to the apostles, elders, a great millstone, rule and teach well. Shalom wa barakim to you brothers and sisters out there. All right, Lord willing, is edifying.